Team, Coach Gary here. This episode of the Brick and Block Podcast features the audio version of my November 2020 column in Masonry Magazine. The title of the column you're about to hear is Thank-ful or Thankless. This column was a reflection on the year just past. Everybody agrees that 2020 seemed like the worst year in recent history, and for more than one reason. A big reason was the COVID-19 virus, plus the lockdown, closing of businesses, widespread unemployment, loss of entertainment, and, of course, the closing of schools, and more. Plus, you may have your own candidates for this list, and I can certainly add to it, but you get the idea. We all do. So, the purpose of the column was to put all of that stuff into perspective. And when you consider that November is the month that we all think about Thanksgiving, at least a little bit, even in the ugly year of 2020, can we really be thankful? There are good things which still happen, even in the worst of times, and we can take with us the lessons of those good things as we go into 2021. Okay, team, hang on, listen up, and prepare to move ahead. And now, thankful or thankless. As I write, it is early October in this often horrible year. The promises, hopes, and dreams of New Year's Eve 2019 for 2020 have underperformed, to say the least. I think that with the cool name of 2020, we really have something special coming our way. Different, yes. Special, no way. I've written a lot of Thanksgiving articles and stories over the years, but this one feels a little bit like a guy being asked to say a few words at the funeral of a person, let's call him Igor, a person that nobody seemed to know or like. Got the picture? You jot down a few notes, show up, and wait for your turn, not really knowing what to say. But then 4 different guys, in turn, stand up prior to you and share some things about the dearly departed Igor, really nice things. Who knew? But what can we say
What do you
about
do?
it at our memorial service for the Igor of 2020? This year has truly been, while it surprised me to no end, I'm kind of glad did find several compliments that I can use for Igor's imaginary service, and some of them are weird, so work with me on these, okay? You put together your own list as we look at mine. In general, it was a year when it seemed as if every hour there was breaking news thrust before us. Breathless newscasters with their hair on fire always had some must-see, must-hear, must-know, hugely important tidbit for us to consume, ponder, and worry until we stressed. You know what I'm talking about, right? Well, at first blush, this doesn't seem to be a nice compliment from me, but think about this. How much of breaking news stuff is even relevant anymore? And here's the answer. Almost none of it. And what does that mean, team? In the end, we'll get through it. Going forward, work on things you can actually change. Don't stress over things you can't. So let's look at a few of them. And I put these out in no particular order except how they happen to come to mind. COVID-19. Compare it to the 1918 flu epidemic, the biggest one ever in the U.S. That estimated death toll was approximately 50 million people worldwide, and about 675,000 in the U.S. And that was with a population of only 103 million. Approximately 0.6% died. We got through it. The mortality rate of COVID-19 is only a fraction of that, maybe 0.07%. And we'll get through this one as well. The loss of sports. Breaking news, this just in, some sports are back. They look a bit strange. I mean, cardboard cutouts of people in the bleachers? Ha! Oh, well, but say what you will, pro and college football is back, sort of. Basketball playoffs looks like they'll end just in time to start the new season. Baseball? Well, with its bizarre rules, it's making possible the boys of October, after all, even in this year of miracles, which includes my San Diego Padres in the playoffs. Hockey? It never really left. NASCAR? It figured out a way. The loss of work. Many in the construction industry kept right on working, having been recognized as essential, which we are. We figured out a way to keep moving. Impeachment woes. Gone, at least for now. The economy. Up, down, back up again. The U.S. roars back with arguably the strongest economy in the world. Unemployment. Record low, near record high, near record low again. Election worries. At the time you read this, you'll know or just about know the answer. Whatever happens, we'll get through that mess peacefully as well, just as we've always done and just as we always will. The death of RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. While I disagreed with the majority of her decisions, I truly admired her nearly indomitable spirit and her ability to converse civilly with those opposing her views. At 5 foot 1 inch tall, she was truly a giant in D.C. Confirmations in the Supreme Court. Rarely nice, often nasty. Even these uprisings shall pass. Peace in the Middle East. Dare we hope? Doesn't seem probable, based upon history, but I'm really rooting for it because it might just be possible. Let's don't screw it up. I'd like to add more items, if only to prove that, in the end, the hysteria once attached to them often just doesn't matter. So I'll ask you to trust me on that. But I do want to close by talking about Thanksgiving, because it should truly be a thankful time for all of us. So allow me to borrow from a previous illustration once used in this column. I'm asking you to choose between two hypothetical Thanksgiving dinner invitations, based strictly upon photos of the two separate Thanksgiving events. And picture number 1 is in color. It's a modern 2020 home with one couple at the table wearing masks. Somehow you are aware that they are in lockdown mode. You know what that couple has been going through this year. Truthfully, you feel a bit sorry for them. There are 2 empty seats visible at their table. Picture number 2 is a black and white photo of a home from a different time. It's 1945, actually. And in the picture, you see a much larger group of people. No masks. Many are smiling. Looks like it might be fun. But 2 empty seats are also visible. Home number 1 and home number 2. Which doorbell will you ring? Before you answer, here's a bit more info. Home number 1 is pretty much like I've described. The couple has been living through the COVID-19 pandemic and all that is involved with it, from lockdowns to closing businesses, masks, sickness, and deaths. Home number 2 has escaped COVID. However, it has not escaped World War II. Neither has the U.S. or the rest of the world. In fact, about 85 million people worldwide died during that war. The U.S. only had about 140 million people back in 1945, and 11% of all citizens fought in it, some 16 million people, plus another 3.5 million in the defense industry. 671,278 military were wounded or injured. 407,316 were killed in action. And another 72,323 were listed as MIA, missing in action. Everyone in the country personally knew someone who was part of those statistics. The large, smiling family in our imaginary photo, based upon statistics, knew at least one person. The term Gold Star Mom was a real thing. Google it if you don't know what that is. It's worth your time to find out. The smiles on that group are real. The people in it are grateful that the war is over, truly thankful. In our example here, you have the opportunity of choosing your degree of thankfulness. Choose wisely. In this case, the good old days of 1945 were much uglier than today. And the people of that era were much more appreciative that they had come to an end. Finally. The smart money is on choosing the much easier time of 2020, believe it or not. And I say all of that just to say this. As bad as this year has been, appreciate the blessings we have in this country, yet routinely take for granted. As the saying goes, freedom isn't free. Good people before our time, specifically in 1787, incorporated the following into our Constitution as its preamble. Listen to this. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. I include this preamble because some today would discount the nobility of the founding of our country. Indeed, the signers of the Declaration of Independence, under the distinct, the possible, and likely penalty of death, pledged, quote, our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor, unquote. The penalty was not simply being confined to their homes. The sacrifice was ultimate. I am thankful that a brand spanking new year is just around the corner. Even more so, I am full of thanks for the benefits of citizenship this amazing country has provided for my family and me. May God bless America. May America continue to bless God. As for me and my house, the choice is clear. Okay, team, that's it for today. You can reach out to us by email, brickandblockpodcast@gmail.com. Spell out the word and, A-N-D, and blockpodcast@gmail.com. Be sure and subscribe to the podcast. It's important. We want you to join us here for the next episode. And now, for the Brick and Block Podcast, this is Coach Gary. Thanks for stopping by.